Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing you everything Telltale Games, Transformers, and more. So first, before I start this video, I gotta say, oh my god, I did not expect Cyberverse to do what they did in this episode, and wow, Cyberverse, you guys really got me with this one, because wow, was this episode just incredible. This is honestly probably up there with Megatron as My Hero, Whiteout, and McAdams. Those 4 episodes are probably my favorite episodes of Cyberverse, and this is among them. Definitely, this episode was incredible, and it's solely like the last 4-5 minutes, the last 4-3 minutes of this episode that sells it. That just made me think, this is it. This is like exactly what I want from a Transformers show. And I'm so surprised at the fact that Cyberverse, of all shows, that was doing this. So, what's this episode that you ask? Well, today we are going to be viewing Transformers Cyberverse Power of the Spark, Season 2, Episode 2, Bad Moon Rising. And don't let the title fool you, this is nowhere near a bad episode. This is honestly an incredible, amazing episode, and it's honestly my favorite episode of the entire series so far. The entire episode, and I'm just gonna gush about it. I gotta gush about it right now, so here we go. So this episode starts off just like episode 1 did, with a flashback, and this time though, instead of it being from Bumblebee's perspective like we saw back in episode 1, with this episode, it starts out from Starscream's perspective, considering that's how we left episode 1 off with Starscream, Shockwave, Shadow Striker, Slipstream, and Megatron all in the elevator. And I know I said that Soundwave was there, but he actually wasn't. So basically, it's Starscream reliving several times, both during the war on Cybertron and even in between the events of seasons 1 and 2, when the war came to Earth, where basically just Megatron is just mocking Starscream, constantly insulting him for all his failures and stuff like that. And the last flashback ends with Megatron basically insulting Starscream before he promotes Slipstream to head the Seekers instead of him. And we just see how enraged Starscream is because of this, as he helps Megatron, Shockwave, and Shadow Striker walk to the command center that inside the moon's core. As they're walking, Megatron is still heavily injured from the injury he took to his leg from Optimus last episode, and while Shockwave tries to urge Megatron to get some medical help and repairs, Megatron decides not to and instead push forward with their plan. So Shockwave explains to Megatron that with the Planet Smasher now destroyed back at the end of episode 1, Shockwave's new plan is to have several thrusters that he has built into the moon, basically launch the moon, crash it into the Earth, and destroy it, and then search for the Allspark amidst all the wreckage of the moon and Earth, which Megatron seems totally on board with. But as we can see, he is getting worse and worse by the minute as he hit from his injured leg, and he can't even talk to Slipstream, who he wants to have her take all the Seekers and guard the Nemesis, which is the main Decepticon ship, which again keeps the tradition of the Nemesis being basically the Decepticon equivalent of the Ark. But while Megatron is stuttering and clearly impaired from his leg injury, Starscream finally takes this opportunity to get back at Megatron and basically attempt to kill him. He straight up kicks Megatron in the back, knocks him down onto his stomach, and then Starscream flies back, launches a whole salvo of missiles at Megatron, presumably killing him in the process, and everyone is just totally awestruck by this, myself included, because yes, it's always in Starscream's nature to just betray Megatron at some point. The fact that he attacks him so boldly and so openly in front of all the other Decepticons just speaks volumes about the Cyberverse, and I got so surprised by that. But again, while I was watching, I couldn't help but feel like that Starscream's reasoning for attacking Megatron now of all things was a little bit too rushed in my opinion. The fact that basically Starscream's justification for attempting to kill Megatron here, actually killing him, considering that his body is like totally limp after Starscream blasts him, is that Starscream was mocked by Megatron several times over the last few centuries, as we see through the 30-second flashback at the start of this episode, But the fact that that's our only explanation we get for, oh, that's why Starscream has attempted to kill Megatron, but that it just doesn't, it feels rushed, and that really, really makes me feel bad, because I want to love this moment so much, and I love how bold Starscream is here, but I just can't shake the fact that this feels a bit over dramatic for it. I mean, this would be one thing if we saw this in all the flashbacks that Megatron Starscream shared in Season 1, where maybe just having offhanded comments every flashback about Megatron mocking Starscream. Then it would make more sense to have Starscream now finally snap and try to kill him. The fact that we only see that in a 30-second flashback to start this episode, it really doesn't give the audience time to sympathize with Starscream in a way, in my opinion. And they kind of just makes it feel rushed to the point where, oh, this is what Starscream always does in every Transformers continuity. He gets abused or harassed by Megatron, and Starscream tries to kill him to take over Decepticons. And again, yeah, like, that's what Starscream does, but you could have just not done it so rushed, in my opinion. The fact that he attacks him so boldly and presumably kills him is really cool, but I just feel like I want to be more excited for it, in my opinion. So everyone just stares in awe at Starscream for having the gall to just openly kill Megatron like that. And I'm honestly surprised that no one just tries to, like, attack Starscream after that. They all just willingly decide to follow Starscream, and basically when Starscream asks Shockwave what they can do, Shockwave decides that with all the Autobots breaching the elevator finally to make their way into the base, Shockwave proposes to Starscream that they just self-destruct the command center so that the Autobots have no way of stopping the moon from crashing into Earth. So Starscream agrees to that, and all the Decepticons retreat back to Nemesis, leaving Megatron's body in the wreckage as the Autobots make their way in. So after all the Decepticons leave, Optimus and Bumblebee, Windblade, Grimlock, and the rest of the Autobots make their way down into the moon's core to try and get to the control room. And we get a really cool fight scene here with Optimus effortlessly dispatching 3 Seekers. And it's really cool to see Optimus be more, I guess, show more of a fighter. We've seen him fight a few more times back in Season 1 and plenty of time against Megatron last episode. But just to have him have, like, a moment where he, like, effortlessly dispatches so many Seekers. And it's really cool to see that, again, unlike Season 1 where we just, the punches don't really seem like they have any force behind them and the violence seems toned down, Optimus here does some pretty good damage to both to these Decepticons that he's battling. Eventually, the final one, he uppercuts them hard enough to, like, crack the plating in their chest, I'm pretty sure. And then he throws them against the wall as they get to the control room. But as Grimlock tries to break it down, similar to how he did in Season 1, the control room explodes, and they have no way of stopping it now. So instead, Wheeljack has himself, Hot Rod, and Prowl head to each of the main engines that are built into the moon to try and shut it down. So while as Optimus, Bumblebee, and other Autobots escape the burning control center, Optimus orders Wheeljack to have the engines basically, instead of just destroying the moon, and because the Earth still needs the moon to survive, has Wheeljack order the engines to basically change their direction the other way so that the moon will will stop hurtling towards Earth, which I'm not exactly sure if that's physically possible, but, you know, it's a cartoon, so I'm just gonna let it slide. And now, finally, that brings us to the end of this episode. And, well, not the end yet, but just the last big part that I was hyping up so much at the start of this episode, and that is when Starscream, Shockwave, Shadow Striker, and the rest of the Decepticons end up returning to the Nemesis, where Soundwave has already been just overseeing all the Autobot Decepticons that are already there. And so when Soundwave is just sitting there on Megatron's throne, waiting for him to return, and so when he doesn't see him with Starscream and everyone else, and Starscream proudly proclaims that Megatron is dead and that he runs Decepticons now, there's this darkly funny moment when where suddenly the music just cuts out of the scene, and the little sound waves on Soundwave's shoulder just go flat, and that kind of shows that all the music that we've been hearing in the scene so far was music that Soundwave's been playing. And honestly, I think that's such a cool and funny thing that Soundwave basically just loves playing music wherever he goes. And we saw this a bit back in Season 1 with episode 10 McAdams, where we had that one moment of Soundwave breakdancing in McAdams with the 2 other Seekers. It reminds me of a lot of that scene, and the fact that Soundwave's music just goes dead as soon as Starscream says that he killed Megatron and that he leads Decepticons. It just shows how, like, Soundwave's pissed at Starscream now. And so when Soundwave just gets up ready to fight Starscream, because that's the whole thing. Soundwave's always been, like, the one who's extremely loyal to Megatron. And as Soundwave looks like he's ready to, like, just beat up Starscream, I'm not sure if it's Slipstream or Shadow Striker. I'm pretty sure it's Slipstream. Or no, it is Shadow Striker, I'm pretty sure. That tells Soundwave not to pick a fight with him, as they gotta get going anyway. So Starscream basically takes up Megatron's throne, ordering all Soundwave and all the other Decepticons around. But just as they're about to leave, they're suddenly interrupted when the bridge room door opens, and no one else but Megatron ends up coming out, covered in burn marks and like blaster burns and like other injury marks on him, and he is out for blood in what I can only describe to be the most savage beating Starscream has ever received in any Transformers cartoon to date. And I did not expect Cyberverse, of all shows, to be delivering this, but holy fucking shit, this is without a doubt the most brutal beating, or murder, I should say, of Starscream I've ever seen in a cartoon. I mean, the most brutal thing I've ever seen done to Starscream would have to be in Spotlight Megatron back in the IW comics, but since we're not counting comics and just going by cartoons, this is without a doubt the most brutal beating / death Starscream has ever gotten in a Transformers cartoon. Starts off, I'll break it down piece by piece for you. So let's compare this actually to the second worst beating that Starscream's ever gotten in a Transformers show, and that was in Transformers Prime. In that show, that happened, I believe, in episode 12 or 13 of Season 1, when Megatron breaks out and finally wakes up from his coma that he's been in for the majority of Season 1. He ends up ending the episode coming back from his coma, grabbing Starscream by the head and dragging him out of, like, the Decepticon bridge room, and Starscream's, like, screaming as the episode ends. We don't see any damage done to him, but when the next episode starts, Starscream's covered in scratch marks, his whole body is a mess, and his wings are all torn up. And we didn't see this happen. We just cut to Starscream in the medical bay with Knockout treating him. We didn't actually see this happen. Here, on the other hand, let me break it down for you bit by bit what exactly Megatron does to Starscream here. Starts off by grabbing him by the chest with enough force to crack his cockpit, throws him down, then presumably beats him a bit off screen before kicking him out the door to the point where Starscream's whole armor is scuffed up. He backhands him at some point. I think that was one of the first things he did, was backhands him after he knocks him through the first door, and then drags him by the foot further down the hall, where you see, like, Thundercracker and a couple other Seekers just staring in total horror at Megatron as he throws Starscream over his head, slamming him down to the ground, and then Starscream just gets up and runs away from Megatron down another hall. And the whole time as it's going, there's literally, like, no music other than, like, a dark, almost horror-type beat to it, that as Starscream is running through the Nemesis Hall, scared for his life, begging for Megatron not to kill him. Megatron even, like, is twirling his Energon flail in his hand, like he's goddamn Freddy Krueger, with his claws slow going down the boiler room wall. It really felt like I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street or another horror movie, as Megatron chases Starscream down the hall, and as Starscream pounds on a door trying to get through it, Megatron slams Starscream presumably in the face or his chest with a flail through the door, exploding it. And then, as they're out in the hangar of the Nemesis, all the other Decepticons just watch as Megatron first he curb stomps Megatron again. So first he curb stomps Starscream onto his back, punches him twice in the face, lifts him up, curb stomps him again, picks him up, throws him up, presumably beats him up a little bit more off screen before uppercutting him in the jaw, knocking him into a wall with enough force to leave a dent in it, and then grabs him again by the chest, throws him down. Starscream is just like, his body is ruined, absolutely ruined in this scene. And and it's just a little animation errors. There are some times where Starscream looks cleaner or, like, not damaged at all in some shots that are farther away. That's just like a glitch, I'm sure. But for the most part, Starscream's body is absolutely ruined, and Starscream is just begging for his life, telling Megatron that he won't disobey him ever again, that he's been tortured enough. But Megatron's not having any of it, and as he charges up his fusion cannon, transforms into his alt mode as a tank, getting ready to shoot Starscream. Starscream tries to run away from him, but Megatron ends up shooting him right in the back, presumably killing Starscream with like an incredible blast that just shuts him down. But that's not even the worst part. You think it'd be over now that Megatron's presumably killed Starscream, but no, he then picks up Starscream's body by the throat and then just drops it to fall and tumble out of the Nemesis onto the moon's surface. And this is honestly the most disturbing part of the whole thing. The fact that Starscream's body so realistically ragdolls down the slope of the bridge of the Nemesis, and then it just so limp, like lifelessly falls down off the bridge onto the surface of the moon. And the fact that they show this totally uncensored. We don't see any point where it just cuts away or just cuts to Starscream's body falling on the moon. We see the entire descent of his body ragdoll down the bridge of the Nemesis, flail through the air as it falls down through low gravity onto the moon's surface and makes a crater on the moon as Megatron just stares, basically just essentially the Cybertron equivalent is spitting on his corpse, and then just walks away as the Nemesis takes off and leaves the moon. And oh my god, this is without a doubt the most savage, brutal beatdown Starscream's ever. And it's kind of like weird that, like, I know it feels kind of weird for me saying that this is like incredible to watch, considering that Starscream is without a doubt one of my favorite characters across the entire thing. And you think I'd be sad for watching Starscream get murdered in such a graphic way, but honestly, it really shows just how like shocking, like, and mood changing Cyberverse can be. Just think back to what I said in this earlier review of season 1 of Cyberverse, where I complained about it not being violent enough. There are points like when Optimus and Bumblebee are like shooting at like Seekers in the air, or Grimlock, when Grimlock shoots his missiles out, they hit the Seekers, and of course they're not gonna blow up and like die, because obviously that's Transformers, but maybe like just show them like crashing down or something like that, or being unconscious, not straight up exploding. But no, they just get hit once and then they fly away. It just seems, I mean, I understand that they're trying to target a younger audience, Cyberverse, but that's what their upcoming show, like their Rescue Bot sequel, is for. If they're Hasbro, you gotta be okay with like showing a little violence. A little violence. So yeah, to see that we go from that, where I was complaining about the fact that it didn't feel like there was really any punches, to this showing Cyberverse of all shows, showing probably the most brutal and graphic beatdown / death that Starscream's ever gotten in a Transformers cartoon. I cannot believe this. And obviously, though, we know that Starscream isn't going to stay dead, considering that we saw him in the intro for Season 2 have that Allspark armor, which I assume he's probably going to get at some point. So I don't know if either he is dead, but he's going to be revived, or maybe just Megatron beat him to the point of near death. But it's going to be one or the other. If he either did kill Starscream, but he's going to be revived, or he beat Starscream to the point of near death, and we're going to see him come back later on this season. And I totally forgot to mention this earlier, but the fact is, the fight was so brutal, even the writers and like storyboard executives at Hasbro believed it was so brutal. Literally, I remember reading a Q&A that was linked to on the TF Wiki official website and for the episode, and the fact that there was Q&A with one of the Cyberverse writers, and when they were pitching the scene and storyboard to the rest of the Cyberverse team, even Hasbro executives, they even noted on how brutal the Megatron's beating of Starscream was, to the point where they thought, wow, they're really going to do this. And that just shows that just how Cyberverse is honestly breaking far more ground to Transformers cartoons than I thought it was going to do. And the fact that this happened was just like, I can't believe that the Cyberverse team with the Boulder Media, they actually got away with going ahead to do this, such a violent and gruesome beating / death for Starscream. And Wow, I just can't wait to see them. If this is just episode 2 of season 2, what's gonna happen the rest of the season as well as seasons 3 and 4? So, anyway, after that, and Megatron kills or nearly kills Starscream and leaves without him, we cut to the ending of this episode where Optimus somehow transmits a message to the people of Earth, basically explaining that they managed to stop the moon from crashing into Earth and that they'll always be there to defend all humanity. But then as Bumblebee is watching Optimus give this speech, he sees Cheetor looking out behind him, behind a bunch of craters, after he hears him call out to him, very similarly to how the Allspark called out to Bumblebee back in episode 3 of season 1. And Bumblebee tries to get Hot Rod's attention to tell him that he's seen Cheetor, but Hot Rod doesn't see him at all, and Cheetor's gone by the time, so Bumblebee's just left looking really clueless as to why Cheetor showed up for a split second when the episode ends. And so that was my review of Transformers Cyberverse Power of the Spark Season 2, Episode 2, Bad Moon Rising. But now, here comes the bad thing. Trust me guys, I really want to give this episode a 10 out of 10. I want to give it a 20 out of 10. I want to give it a 50 out of 10. But there's just one thing that's just constantly on my mind whenever I think of this episode, and that's just the opening and Starscream's motivation for attempting to kill Megatron being the fact that he's been mocked so often. The fact that his motivation is summed up in a 30-second flashback at the start of this episode, I just can't overlook that. And as much as I love everything that follows it, I love how bold Starscream is with his attempt on killing Megatron. I love the beatdown and presumably death he receives from Megatron at the end of this episode too. I love the fights that Optimus has with all the Decepticons halfway through it, but at the same time, I just can't shake the feeling that Starscream's justification for killing Megatron, or attempting to kill him, is undeserved. It just feels that it should have been built up more. We should have seen this more in Season 1, and for that reason, it pains me. This is the most I've ever heard for not giving a episode a 10 out of 10 for anything I've reviewed, but I unfortunately have to give Transformers Cyberverse Season 2, Episode 2, Bad Moon Rising, a 9.75 out of 10. I want to give it a 10 out of 10. Trust me, guys. Trust me. But the fact that is, I just can't. And if it wasn't for that, this would be a 10 out of 10 by far. Even though I've given other episodes 10 out of 10s, this one, it's just such a blatant thing, I can't overlook it. The other things had minor things that I could have overlooked, like Megatron's my hero and such, but this I just can't, so I'm really sorry. And it's still my favorite episode of Cyberverse, despite that 0.25% off. It just bothers me so much, guys, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this review of Transformers Cyberverse Season 2, Episode 2. Thank you all so much for watching. It feels so good to review Cyberverse again, and I hope you all are enjoying these, because I certainly am. I'll be back soon with Episode 3 titled The Visitor. If you are liking these reviews, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Take it away, Bumblebee.
Bumblebee out.
And I might know what I've